Hi everyone. I wanted to look again at fractions, and with the fractions, just a bit of a reviser at the start about the fraction symbol and what each of the numbers mean, and relating it to a whole object. I also want to show you what it looks like when the numerator and the denominator are the same number and what that actually means. And then, which will be aligned to today's task, it will be looking at being given a fraction in symbol form and then drawing that fraction. At the moment, what we've seen is we've been given the fraction and we have to identify it. It's a bit harder when you've actually got to draw it yourself, okay? And I'll show you how to do that. So when we're looking at the fraction 1/4, okay, the numerator is the top number and the bottom number is the denominator. And I always look at the denominator first, and the denominator talks about the total number of parts, okay? So if we're looking at one whole object, which in this case we've got the rectangle is broken up into 4 equal parts. When we're looking at the numerator, the top number, which is the 1, what we're asking for is looking at one of those 4 parts. So in this case, if I said to you what fraction is shaded of this whole object, you'd tell me that there was 1 part, okay, out of 4 total parts. So that's how the 1/4 works with a shaded. I'm going to get rid of that. And I'm going to write the following fraction. I'm going to write, okay, so that's 2 over 2, or 2 out of 2. 2 halves would be another way of saying it. Probably the correct way is 2 halves. So if we think about what that looks like in a shape, okay, I'll draw a terrible looking square. If we look at the bottom number, it's asking us to have 2 equal parts, okay, and we know if there's a 2 at the bottom, that means halves. And if we're going to colour them in, the top number means we have 2 parts coloured in, so that's 1 part, and that's 2 parts. So what you can sort of see there is we've got the whole shape shaded in. So if we're looking at 2 parts out of 2 parts, we're actually talking about the whole shape. So when you see a fraction where the top number and the bottom number are the same, that means it is a whole, one whole, okay? So if I wrote a couple more down, do it in green, something a bit different to usual, 3 out of 3, which means 3/3. 3/3 is 1 whole. 4/4. Okay, so we break the shape up into 4 parts. We're looking at all 4 of those parts, which means you're looking at the whole shape. All right, so 4/4. There's my shape again. I know it doesn't look very equal, but let's pretend they are. 4/4 means we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4. We're looking at the whole shape. So 4/4 is 1 whole. So today what you're going to be looking at, so I'm going to delete all this again, is you're going to be looking at a fraction. So I might write something like 2/5. All right, something a bit different. Looking at 2/5, and you're going to be given that fraction, and then you need to draw a shape to match that fraction. All right, which again is a little bit harder because you actually have to come up with a shape yourself and design it yourself. So easiest thing to do is draw a shape that we call symmetrical. Okay, it means really easy. If we fold it in half, they're the same on both sides. So I'm going to use a slightly, I'll keep on using green. I'll choose the line function. So when we're looking at this fraction, it means we want 5 equal parts. We don't have nothing at the moment, we've just got a whole, so we can't choose the 2. We've got to draw the 5 equal parts. So this is not going to be 100% accurate, it will be as close as possible. So far you can see we've got 1 part, 2 parts, 3 parts, and now 4 parts, 5 parts. Okay, so I've created 4 lines in the middle, but that 4 lines meant I managed to chop that piece up into 5 equal pieces. I now want 2 of them. Oh, okay. There's 1, and there's 2. So if I said what fraction of this whole object had red lines in it, backward ends, okay, I'd be looking at 2 pieces, 1, 2, which matches the numerator. Out of 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Out of 5 total pieces, that's 2/5. Okay, so hopefully that helps when you're doing your fractions today. Step number 1 will be to draw the shape, the outline of the shape. Step number 2 is identify how many total parts there are. Okay, so we'll just do another one. That's not going to work. Let's go with 1/4. So we've done the shape. We'll look at the total number of parts. It's 4. So we can work out how we can break this up into 4 equal parts. Okay, it's as best as possible. And then we look finally at the top number. In this case, it's a 1, which means we're looking at one of them.